to come and here with us tonight. And obviously, we're excited. Tonight will be on the agenda for the special meeting is the installation of the new board members, or reinstallation, but installation of new board members. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Lavender. Actually, roll call vote.
Mr. Hayes.
Here.
Mr. Wilkie.
Here.
Mrs. Harrington.
Here.
And Mrs. Jordan.
Here.
And let the record show that Mr. Hunt is not with us at this time. With that, turn it over to you, Mr. Lavender.
Good evening, President Wilkie, members of the board, members of the public. At this time, I'm going to ask that Mr. Wilkie, Mrs. Harrington, and Mrs. Jordan please step up front. Please raise your right hand. I state your name. You solemnly swear or affirm I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of Arizona, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and defend them against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of governing board member for the Casa Grande Union High School District, according to the best of my ability. So help me God. Thank you. Congratulations.
And you didn't mess it up. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Lavender. We'll move on immediately into the first presentation, which is the Boys and Girls Club update by Mr. Lindbergh.
To inspire and enable all young people to realize their full potential as caring, productive, and responsible citizens. Across the Boys and Girls Club movement, all organizations rally around 3 priority outcomes: academic success, good character and citizenship, and healthy lifestyles. And feel like if we can help young people hit those measures today, they will be better off not only today, but as they move into their future. Put in other words, we want to be a safe place for kids to go when they're not in school. So we started here as an after-school program primarily for K through 5 back in 1998, and really just were never able to move into the teen space until 2016. At that point, reached out or connected with Parks and Rec through the city of Casa Grande and Casa Grande Union High School District with the idea of serving teens in the library at Vista Grande. And after a quick pilot program, decided to move forward with that. The young people at that point decided to call it the Lounge, and we have been there for the last 9 years and love that. We've gotten some great some attention from national. This is a unique partnership that has allowed us to serve young people differently than other clubs had. Prior to that, we were not aware of any club programming on high school campuses. And so since then, there's been a few others that we are aware of and started. So very proud that we were the first to that. In 2024, we served 329 teens in our or across our 7 clubs. That represents 15% of our total population. And so very proud of that, that number. That is much higher than many boys and girls clubs in our area. So we're very appreciative of that. Very proud of this because it's at Vista. 17 of our team members are from Union, and I want to say that as well. They have crossed over onto the other campus, and then we have a teen-facing space at the rec center as well. Currently, we serve about 25 kids a day at the lounge. So far this year, 136 different young people have come through our doors over there. Of those numbers, that means that we have seen 1,898 total visits. I'm very proud of that. While in their time at the lounge, they have access to the tutoring programs that are offered at Vista Grande High School. We have college prep and career readiness programs, life skill and different pieces like that. Like I said, we want to help them be prepared for post-high school. We want to augment the education and the services that they get as part of the school day. They don't need 3 hours more of school. We want to make it fun, but certainly we have some time and some resources to help with that. So love it when outside groups come in. And if you come every day, we want it to look a little different. How can we benefit you? What has been so amazing about the lounge is it's given us the opportunity for our K-8 members to continue with us. We have about half of our group is young people that started with us on the elementary school side and continue to come with us there. The one story I would like to share is a young man named Diego. He came for the first time this year, had never come to a Boys and Girls Club. And that day we were there, we were doing some positive action, which is some life skill development. And he said multiple times to our staff, "This is my first day, and I couldn't have picked a better day to come." So really excited about that. I could talk about this for hours. It is I'm preaching to the choir. It is a different time to be a young person. I'm glad Facebook did not exist when I was in high school. I did some stupid stuff. And glad that is there's no proof of that anywhere. That is a good thing. And so, as I end tonight, just so appreciative. Saw former Principal Cole in here, and she was such a big part. There she is. She's hiding. Such a big part of this program for many years. Principal Danzy's and his staff have been so great to work with. Amber Kent with the City of Casa Grande and the library staff have been so good. Just a great three-pronged partnership there. Appreciate this group's continuous support over the last 9 years. Certainly appreciate Superintendent Lavender, who could not think less highly of me and continues to put up with me, and that's been great for him. So thank you. We appreciate this partnership. Before I sit down, would entertain any questions, but if none, thank you for supporting what we're trying to do.
Are there any questions? Yeah. Mr. Hayes?
I do. It's kind of two in one, but recognizing that there's a difference between wants and needs, what would you say is your biggest need, and then what's your biggest want?
For teen programming in particular, or just
It could be that,
organizational?
yeah, organizationally more.
The joke in my world is that if I have a tie on, I'm asking someone for money, right? So money's the easy, cheap, that's the easy nonprofit answer. You put me on the spot. It has been, the last 5 years have been so tricky for everybody, right? And I think that we finally have kind of come out of that a little bit and different than what do we need to do to survive today and maybe tomorrow. I think what do we want the program to look like in 6 months? And so, how can we better impact kids, I think, is what we're trying to figure out. And so on the younger kid side, we're looking at fine arts programming. What can we do? We've started a guitar program. We've started bucket drumming at our younger clubs. So that would be there. That's not a great answer. I apologize. That's on the spot and trying to stay under my 5 minutes. And we'll go with money. We will take more money. Is how we will answer that.
That always helps.
I appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Anyone else? All right. Well, thank you very much, Matt. for
Appreciate
the
it. Thank you. Thank
update.
you.
Mary, if you can please make sure you note that Mr. Hunt is
Mr.
present.
Hunt, please note that Mr. Hunt arrived at 5:40.
Thank you. All right. With that conclusion, we'll move back to Mr. Lavender and bond funding.
Before I turn it over, I do want to tell Matt how proud I am of him. I've known Matt since I think he was starting
Why does it
his
keep going away?
his post-high school years. We used to play basketball together. He's always known his true north and has always remained strong in his faith. But he went through a little bit of a rebellion phase then when he decided that he was going to dress crazy
Yeah, I did.
and not comb his hair for a few years.
Okay, wait.
I think every parent dreams that that's how their child rebels. That's a little funky. You remember those years, Matt?
Yeah,
Right.
I thank you for bringing that up. That's great.
It sounds like middle school.
Yeah. Matt has done such
Is
an
that good?
awesome job.
I know, but he can't see
We're
it
proud
here.
to support
That's
the
the problem.
organization. Last year, his
Can't we just take it off of the
dance at
stand?
the Dancing for the Stars night was
Hmm?
phenomenal. Absolutely one of the best dances I've ever seen.
Can
I
I
hope
put this
there'll
up
be
here
a
on
repeat this
the
year.
screen too?
And also, he is a big Los Angeles Rams fan.
Why is it
See, we're in
extended? I
colors
don't like
tonight,
that.
so. But Matt, thank you for all that you're doing for this community. It's a great partnership. You're doing a phenomenal job. We are so proud of you. At the, I think it was the November meeting, Mr. Bell came up and shared with
What if he, can
all
you just do
the
this?
assessment.
Okay, I'll just have him do
$40 million
Down arrow? Okay.
in needs that the district has in capital and looking at some different things. So I've asked Mike LaValle, am I pronouncing that right?
Correct, yes.
From Stifel here tonight. We've met with him, we've gone over some figures.
You just,
Mike
since
and I
it's not
talked
on
briefly
here, it's up there.
tonight,
You're just gonna
Mike's
use,
got
just use the
some
down
exciting
arrow.
to share, and that his son scored the winning touchdown for the 2A Scottsdale Christian State Championship this year.
Thank you. Yeah,
Congratulations,
wonderful.
Mike, on that.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you coming down tonight and sharing this presentation with our board. We have about 45 minutes, Sarah, just to
Okay.
kind of let you know. I hope that gives you enough time.
Plenty. I mean, I'll probably wrap it up in 2030 and then Q&A. And I'm happy to pause along the way if you have questions. So please feel free to ask along the way as well. For the record, I'm Mike LaValle. I'm with Stifel, and thank you for having me this evening. Mr. President, members of the board, thank you, Superintendent Lavender. Appreciate you allowing me to speak. I have been working in this industry now since the mid 90s or so, and working for your district, I want to say since 1998 or 99, for quite some time. Helping the district with anything related to voter authorization, bond issues, or overrides throughout the last 25 plus years. And so I've seen a lot of change in your district, a lot of growth, helped the district, a lot of bond issues, lease purchases from time to time throughout those years as well. So anything related to financing and or help with state funding of schools. My colleague Randy Stein is an expert statewide for helping our clients with getting the most out of, leveraging the most dollars from the state as well. So that's what my firm does. That's what I do all around Arizona. I'm a K-12 specialist, fire district specialist. Those are the two sectors I work in. My colleagues do a lot of cities and towns, universities, community colleges, things like that around the state as well. I've been working in Pinal County for a long time. I work with almost every district in the county. My colleagues actually work for the elementary school district. I help Maricopa Unified, J.O. Combs Unified. My colleague does Apache Junction. I work with Florence and Coolidge, and so I'm in Pinal County quite a bit. But anyway, thank you for having me this evening. I have a presentation to share with you. Let's see here. I'm just going to scroll. Maybe that's not going to work. So I'm going to, here we go.
Actually, yeah, just use the down arrow.
Yeah, okay, I'll just do this. There we go. And so you have a presentation up on your screen, and I'm just going to take you through the first slide. So when we talk about bonds, before we talk about capital, we talk about bonds are repaid by taxes. And before we talk about taxes, taxes obviously are made up from something, and that is assessed valuations on homes and commercial properties within the district boundaries. This first slide is the district's 10-year history of assessed valuation. And you can see how you've grown over the past 10 years from 2015, 16, sorry, I'm reading it up here as well, all the way to 25 we have a projection, a placeholder. That's why it's, I don't know what we call it, etched there on the far right. That's that projection we just put in as a placeholder. And because we're going to know what that number is in February this year, we get your February estimates of value come in usually by mid-February. So we're going to know what those values are for next fiscal year come mid-February, right around the corner here. And so for now, we plugged in those values as a placeholder. I'm just trying to scroll down one more. There we go. Plug in 12% for the blue for this upcoming fiscal year, and then it looks like 8% for the red. Let me tell you, the blue is what we call the net full cash assessed value. That's more closely aligned with what's actually happening in the district boundaries. It's unrestricted as the formula. So if new homes hit the tax rolls, commercial property hits the tax rolls, year over year market values grow, that's unrestricted. It's not market value. Market value is much higher of a home or a commercial business. This is the starting, if you will, of the tax value. But it's not what drives property taxes. But it is closely aligned with what's going on in the district boundary. You can see that huge increase there. A lot of growth in the district the last 5 years specifically. The red, and so the blue bar is how we calculate bonding capacity. So I'm going to take you to a few slides down the road that shows that calculation of how we calculate the district's bonding capacity. It's based off of this blue bar, the net full cash value. And so as I progress through the slides, I'll remind you of blue bar versus red bar. Okay, but the red bar is the net limited assessed property value. Now that's restricted and growing by formula. Okay, and what I mean by that is not on an aggregate district basis, but on an individual homeowner basis or commercial owner business basis. If you have a home that grew, say, 10% year over year in market value, the tax value is not going to grow more than 5% year after year. Okay. So if a home grows 30% over 5 years, that 5% will keep growing until it hits that 30%, but it's only going to max out at 5% every year. It was a way to kind of smooth the ups and the downs in tax values and to protect residents and commercial properties from extreme growth like we've had the last 5 years, as you can see with the blue. So the red is how you is the value that we use the county to calculate your tax rates, both your primary tax rate and your secondary tax rate. I'm going to be focusing in on the secondary tax rate, which is anything voter authorized. But here's a 10-year snapshot of the district's tax rates. And the orange is your primary tax rate. That's to fund your general fund, if you will. Teachers' salaries, everything, maintenance and operations, everything, except for capital, essentially. And the red is your secondary override, your M&O override tax rate, the one sandwiched in the middle there. And so you passed your M&O override, the district did, in 2023. And so you have roughly 5 years from that November 23 election at the full funding of 10%. And so your district only does a 10% override. You can go as high as 15, but you keep it at 10%. A lot of districts do lower than 15. And so you're at a 10% level. But the voters approved that continuance, if you will. That also happened in 2018 and 14. So you have to come back to the voters on an override every 4 or 5 years. 4 would be a year early. 5th year is the latest to go if you want to keep it going at the same level, at the same 10%. So that's that red tax rate, if you will. The blue tax rate is the bonds. And that's what I'm going to be focusing on this evening related to capital. And over the last 10 years, you can see, I'm going to look at the first 5 years. The average tax rate for the first 5 years was somewhere in the high 40s to low 50-cent range for bonds. And then you can see as your assessed values were growing the last 5 or so years greater than the previous 5 years, and you haven't sold any new debt in a long time. So you've had the same debt payments for years, but as your assessed values grow, meaning new homes are coming in, new commercial properties are coming in, they're absorbing some of that burden of the debt service of the debt. And so that tax rate has come down, and it's now down to just about 31 cents on the far right there. If you look down below, I have a 5-year average tax rate history. Taxpayers have been paying roughly on average over the last 5 years, 39 cents, just under 40 cents per $100 of assessed valuation. And so I look at that, and when we try to structure scenarios, examples for our clients, we want to look at the historical tax rate. Obviously, we're not going to size something that's going to jack the tax rate up considerably at all. And in fact, your district's in a really good position. Not a lot of districts are, although I was talking to J.O. Combs last week, similar conversation, same presentation, except their numbers. We're going to be showing you some scenarios where one of the scenarios is you can maintain the same tax rate as the current rate, roughly 31 cents going forward, and borrow. You can ask the voters, and all bonds have a tax increase, but we can structure it in such a way where we can keep the tax rate the same as the previous year, which would be about 31 cents. And borrow, I think it's 50 million, but I'll get to that here shortly. Okay, so that's the history of the tax rates. This is the final 2 debt payments of the district. So you haven't had any new debt in quite some time. We helped the district do a refinancing of old debt, kind of like refinancing your home mortgage when rates are low. We helped the district back in 2015 refinance older debt that had higher interest rates with newer debt at lower rates to save taxpayer dollars. So if you have a new bond program, for instance, and we sell debt at an average of 4%, and then all of a sudden market rates 5 years later go down to 2%, we can help refinance that debt and lower that interest payment. But that refinanced old debt, and there's only 2 payments left, and that's all you have here at the district is 2 payments in 2025. Basically, in 6 months, you're going to make one of those last 2 payments of principal there on 7/1/25, and then on a year later on 7/1/26 is your final payment of the district. Then you go to 0. So the bond tax rate is 31 cents now. It'll probably, if you didn't have an election, it probably come down a little bit more. And then the following year after that, it's going to go to 0. And that's great if you don't have project needs. Not so great if you have project needs, letting it go all the way to 0, because then if you miss an opportunity to go to keep that tax rate kind of steady or even slightly declining if you want, but keep it going. If you have project needs, this is an opportune time to consider an election. If you wait, it would go to 0 in a year and a half, and then any future elections would basically be a complete total tax rate increase going forward. So just to give you a heads up on that, because your debt is going away on July 1 of 2026. Okay, so how do you calculate bonding capacity? That's this slide here. Currently, your bonding capacity is about $145 million. That's that first column there. It says current. That's based on that blue bar from the first slide that I was talking about. You have $1.5 billion of net full cash assessed value. Take that times 10%. That's the statutory formula. You subtract out what bonds you haven't paid off just yet. You have $5.4 million of principal remaining. And so you have $145 million right now. If you could borrow today, you could borrow up to $145 million. You can't borrow anything because you don't have any voter authority. This is just bonding capacity. This is just a percentage of, by statute, of how much you can borrow up to currently. But you still have to ask as voters for it. And quite frankly, you're in a good position because your needs may not even be as high as your bonding capacity. We have clients who have, as an example, 20 million of bonding capacity, but their needs are 40 million. That gets a little bit more complicated. They have to wait to grow into their capacity over 10 years. So in your case, you can ask the voters for 50 million or 60 million. You can sell it all at once or spread it out depending on your projects, but you can sell all of it if you need to at once because your bonding capacity calculation is higher than that. And then bonding capacity grows. So On July 1, 25, that middle column, you make your second to last principal payment. As I mentioned, your capacity grows up to 147 million and change. And then on the third Monday in August, when that new assessed value hits the tax rolls, we're just estimating 12% on that blue bar. You could be higher. If you have 12% growth, your bonding capacity would grow to 165 million. Again, probably much higher than you would ever ask the voters for. So you're in a good spot there. Okay, so here's a couple scenarios to share with you this evening. And again, I'm just showing you a couple scenarios. Once you hone in on what your actual project needs are and the estimates around those project needs, then we can fine tune this. But in terms of the scenarios here, I have the blue and I guess I'll call that orange boxes there, scenario 1 and scenario 2. Now, this is a summary of everything after these slides. I'm just bringing it all up to here to share the summary with you. I'll dig a little bit into detail in the next few slides, but I'll be as brief as I can. Scenario 1 is a $50 million bond election. If you have roughly $50 million of capital needs to build schools, buses, computer technology, whatever bonds can be used for. If you ask the voters for 50 million and we have it just being paid off, if you look at that first blue box in 26, $20 million, 29, 3 years later, another 20, and 32, another 10, totaling the 50 million. We structure the bonds in such a way where if you look at the blue column there on the right side, remember I mentioned the current bond tax rate is 31 cents. We can structure those bonds in such a way where we keep it at or below 31 cents going forward. Now, these are bonds being paid off over 20 years. Homes are typically financed over 30. Arizona is pretty conservative with school debt. You can only borrow out to 20 years, whereas almost everything else, cities and towns, our own homes, can borrow 30. So we basically have, and it really depends on what your projects are. If you're building a school with the money, schools last for 30, 40, 50 years. Then you can do a 20-year borrowing. If you're financing just buses, we would probably do a 10-year financing because you don't want to borrow out longer than the actual useful life of the equipment or the projects. And so, but this is just a scenario, 50 million. We have your tax rate. We structured in such a way where we keep it at or below the current year tax rate. The second scenario, the orange scenario, is a $75 million scenario. Again, when I was talking to staff and introducing these concepts, I didn't know about what your capital needs might be. And so I just picked two scenarios, 50 and 75 million. And with that 75 million, we can structure that in such a way, and again, 3 bond issues, a little bit larger sizes, 25 million apiece, and tax rate would be roughly 35 cents going forward. So it'd jump up only 4 cents over what taxpayers are paying this year. Remember, the last 5 years, it's been 39-cent average. And so it's not much of an increase, if you will. It's kind of about similar with what taxpayers have been paying over the last 5 years. Again, it all depends on what your needs are and what the cost of those needs are. So that's up to the board and staff and everybody to work together to determine what that looks like. And so if it winds up being less, 40 million or 30 million or 60 million, we'll run those scenarios when the time comes. So let me go into detail of these scenarios real quick. A lot here, I'm sorry for the people out, in the audience, it's hard to see. But going from left to right, how do we come up with that 31-cent tax rate for that 50 million? Well, the first column is your assessed value. We're growing it at a reasonable, the 10-year historical growth average, 6% or so. And then your old debt, again, is going away. You can see the old debt is in I can't read it up there, so I'm just going to turn here. Your old debt is in columns 4, and the tax rate is in column 5. Again, if you look at column 5, you have 2 more years of, this year of tax rate and next year on the bond rate, 30 cents estimate. After that, it goes to 0 with no election and no future sale of bonds. And so, but if you have an election in 25, if you have the needs, obviously, you'd be selling the first chunk of bonds in the spring-ish of 2026. That first debt payment then would be in the 26-27 fiscal year, which is the year right after the old debt goes away. So November of 25 is the last time you can have a bond election and kind of maintain the current bond tax rate. If you waited until 26 or 27, that's okay, but you're going to wind up then communicating that, I mean, your bond tax rate is going to go to zero, and then it'll come back up to 30 cents a year later, 2 years later. That's fine. It's just a tougher sell in the community, given my experience around the state. So, again, if you don't have needs and don't have an election, but if you have the needs, then this is really an opportune time because of your old debt going away. So that's the first scenario. Now, at the bottom here, if you can see me circling here, projected average annual tax rate, because all bonds have a tax impact. We're just structuring in a way to keep it at 31 cents or lower, but that tax impact for 50 million, the average tax impact over annual impact is 21 cents, roughly almost 21 and a half cents, if you will. Remember that number. And I'm going to scroll and show you what that means to a homeowner and business owner here. That's just footnotes, and I kind of described them all. Here we go. This is the kind of information that would show up in a voter pamphlet. And so that 21 and a half cents, roughly, we like to show on a $100,000 tax value because just to show you the mechanics and the math, it's pretty easy. You move the decimal over 2 places. So the tax rate is 21 cent, 0.2147. You move it over 2 places. The annual impact of 50 million to a $100,000 tax value home, residential home, that first blue box there, is $21.47 a year, or less than $2 a month. Now, we all know that you can't buy a home for $100,000 anymore, right? Remember, this is tax value. It gets pretty complicated because the average tax value in your neck of the woods, and remember, this is that red bar, the net limited assessed property value, is $131,000. That may even seem low to you, right? I mean, who could buy a home for that? Well, you can't. That limited property value has been limited for many, many years, up to 5% growth. Let's say homes have been growing at 8% on average the last 10 years. So that could mean that a market value home of $250,000, $300,000 has a tax value of $131,000. So it's important when you're communicating to the voting public, it's not what the market value of your home is. And by the way, it's probably significantly lower than the market value. It's that average, it's that red bar, you know, just to equate it with this presentation, but it's the net limited property value. It's what shows up on the tax bill that you get. And so when people are trying to figure out what's the impact to my home, they really need to look at their own tax bill, and they are going to see that it's much lower. Their value is much lower than their current market value. But on 21 cents on that average, 131,000, it's roughly less than $30 a year, $28.27 or $2.36 a month. And so we also report this for commercial properties in the voter pamphlet and agricultural and vacant properties as well. So that's scenario one, $50 million election, 21 cent, if you will, 21 and a half cent average tax impact. I'm going to breeze through this. This is just a $75 million scenario. Again, 3 bond sales, $25 million a piece. Same other data, same assessed valuation growth, same old debt going away in 2 years, year and a half. 35 cent total tax rate impact. Again, 31 cents now. It would only grow to about 35 cents. And quite frankly, if you grow more than our projections here in February, we could probably get it below 31 cents. If your needs were up to 75 million. We'll have to just see what happens in February. But if your needs aren't any higher than 50 million, then maybe I just throw this scenario out. But just to share with you, that average tax impact on 75 million is at the bottom there. And that is 0.3266. So let's call it 33 cents for 75 million. And so then that's roughly $33 a year on a 100,000 tax value home and less than $3 a month. Now, again, if you have a tax value on your property tax bill, 300,000, you just multiply that number times 3, and that's how you can kind of ballpark what your specific tax impact might be with your home. But remember, you've already been paying that because we're keeping it at 31 cents. You're currently paying 31 cents. We're just keeping it kind of going if you have an election this coming year. With that, I'm going to pause. The rest of this is really just kind of timing and mechanics of an election. I'm going to pause and see if you have any questions on tax impact or anything that I've talked about so far.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. My paying job is in real estate, so I
Oh, good.
see how
Yeah.
it goes. But right now, because of the way the interest rates are, it actually has started driving our market values down.
Mhm.
And I do realize that they get adjusted every 2 years, so it's not an annual thing.
Mhm.
But that being said, if it's going to affect the values, potentially these numbers, even if though our growth rate is still growing, the values are going down. So
I'm not ignoring you. I'm
affect
going
it.
to scroll back up to the assessed value table while you're asking. That's a great question because I think I can best answer it with that first slide right here. Yes. And so market values are way higher than this is on aggregate, district aggregate. Market values for all homes and commercial properties are way higher than the starting tax values.
Mhm.
But to your point, if these blues start to flatten out, right now they're growing considerably. I mean, look at the last couple of years. I mean, double digits, historic, pretty much in your
Yeah.
area, right? It makes sense that the growth is gonna start to slow,
Mhm.
right? And perhaps flatten out. The red will continue. This is the starting tax value
Mhm.
for calculating
Because
taxes.
it's playing catch up, basically, is that?
It'll play catch up for a number of years until unless that blue drops considerably.
Okay.
And so if the like in the 08 mortgage meltdown,
Mhm.
yes, 2-year lag, good point. I knew in 2008 when the market melted down that my clients weren't going to be able to sell bonds as many bonds as they had planned on.
Mhm.
They passed elections by 2010. The 2-year lag, what's nice about you districts is you have a window where if you do see some big downturn and you've passed a bond election, for instance, and you know that assessed values are not going to be where they are, or maybe they're going to be flatter or going down, you can make decisions based on that. You can decide to delay projects or speed projects up. It just depends on what your needs are.
Mhm.
And we can also just keep an eye on that tax rate to make sure it doesn't jump up. We had some clients, though, in that big downturn where the tax rates we had structured, let's say, keeping them flat, they were going to go up.
Mhm.
Nothing we could do because the assessed values dropped so much. I don't know if we're in that situation.
Right.
But great question because, yes, I mean, if it's really going to be that blue that starts to trend flatter
Mhm.
or maybe grow not as much, right, for the next couple of years. And if it goes flatter or slightly declining, that red's still going to incrementally go up. And that's really what we're basing most of this on. I'd say we probably have, if let's say there's a downturn next year, for instance, we'd still have probably 2, 3, 4, 5 years of growth in the red.
Mhm.
I'm speculating, but before it would even flatten out and come down.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Okay, let me just wrap up here. I have one more slide. There's a lot more slides on your presentation. So if you're having trouble sleeping tonight, please feel free to open it up and read. It's all about bonds and overrides and all kinds of technical terms. I covered a lot of it in my presentation, but I really just want to wrap up with this. Generally speaking, timeline, if you were to go for a November 2025 bond election, you would need to call for it. I say need. Pinal County would let you call for it in July. I don't really recommend that. July is really rough with that 4th of July time period, whatnot. So I would say the reasonable drop dead deadline is in June. Calling for an election resolution in June. I would say hopefully by mid-June. Maricopa County requires it by the first week of June, just to give you an example. Your county is a little bit more lenient and would let you go into July, but it's difficult in July. Plus the voter pamphlets that then due at the end of July. There's not much time after calling for it. If we can call by mid-June, then everything kind of works out. So backing up from there, you can kind of see there, this is why you have me coming this evening. You're hearing from experts related to the tax rates and bond sizes, and then you'll be hearing potentially from experts here on projects and estimates of projects. You might even hear from political consultants in the next month or two, if you were to go forward, on survey work and polling work to see if the community even would support a bond size, or what bond size, or what projects would they support. So there's a lot of activity between now and May. This activity is the easiest part now that I'm here. It's really getting the construction stuff, the estimates and survey work to then bring back. Then Jeff would call me and say, Mike, run me a 40 million, run me a 55 million. And then I will do that and come back to you in May or so and give you that. And it'll look somewhat similar, but a little different. And then it all wraps up to call for a resolution, if you will, before the board to take action to call for an election by, I would say, mid-June latest. You can call for it earlier, May or April. There's no restriction on that. But most folks need some time to. And so we have this sort of general calendar here, and you can kind of see some of the steps there. And I will pause and see if you have any questions related to timing. If not, that's all I have for this evening.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate the information.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
With that, Mr. Lavender, anything else we need to cover for this meeting?
Okay.
Well, our next steps will be to organize the facilities committee to look at the needs assessment that Mr. Bellick has done. Look at, what are the scenarios? We're gonna have to pay for those $40 million in projects. And it's pay for them in a proactive way or pay for them in a reactive way when a lot of those things start failing. And so we have to deal with that. And then also we're looking at, we want to survey the community and getting some feedback from the community on their thoughts of the potential bond election. And then come back to all of you probably in April with some reports, and then looking at possibly asking you to vote in May to take a bond for the November.
All right. Well, thank you. If there's nothing else, we will adjourn this special meeting and we'll start the regular meeting at 6:30. Thank you. 2025. We hope that you had a nice holiday season and that we wish you a prosperous 2025. With that, Mary, please call the roll.
Here.
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 All right, would everyone please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance, and followed by that, remain standing for a moment of quiet reflection. Thank you. Mr. Hayes, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lavender, we'll turn it over to you. Is this just,
So the first thing is our organization of the board. And so are there any nominations for board president?
I would like to make a nomination of Richard Wilkie for president.
do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Mary, please call. Are
Are there any other
there any other
nominations?
nominations? With that, Mary, will you please call for the roll, vote?
Mr. Hayes.
Yes.
Mr. Hunt.
No.
Mr. Wilkie.
Yes.
Mrs. Harrington.
Yes.
And Mrs. Jordan.
Yes.
Okay. 4-1 vote, that passes.
Next is our election of our pro tempore, who takes over in times when the board president's not available. Are there any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Mrs. Harrington to continue as pro tem.
I second.
We have a motion and a second.
Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, I recommend we close.
Mary?
Mr. Hayes.
Yes.
Mr. Hunt.
No.
Mr. Wilkie.
Yes.
Mrs. Harrington.
Yes.
And Mrs. Jordan.
Yes.
Next is our election of our board legislative representative, who represents the board in determining things that ASA or ASBA may lobby for, or other things concerning legislative priorities. Are there any nominations?
I would like to nominate Mr. Hayes.
I second.
Are there any other nominations? Recommend that we close nominations.
Mary, please call for the vote.
Mr. Hayes.
Yes.
Mr. Hunt.
No.
Mr. Wilkie.
Yes.
Mrs. Harrington.
Yes.
And Mrs. Jordan.
Yes.
All right. Thank you all for that.
The next is the selection of our meeting dates. We currently have our meeting dates. This is second Mondays of the month. I am asking that we change the meeting for February to the second Tuesday of the month because of conflict. Are there any objections, or would somebody like to make a motion to keep it the second Monday of the month?
Seeing none.
Yeah,
Motion.
I'll make a motion to keep it the second Monday of the month, with the exception of February.
February 10th to February 11th.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Mary, please call for the vote.
Mr. Hayes.
Yes.
Mr. Hunt.
Yes.
Mr. Wilkie.
Yes.
Mrs. Harrington.
Yes.
And Mrs. Jordan.
Yes.
Okay. Moves us to the adoption of the agenda. Does any member have any questions or comments related to the agenda? And if not, we'll accept a motion. Seeing none, do I have a motion?
I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Motion second. Mary, please call for the vote.
Mr. Hayes.
Yes.
Mr. Hunt.
Yes.
Mr. Wilkie.
Yes.
Mrs. Harrington.
Yes.
And Mrs. Jordan.
Yes.
Moving on, for the minutes of approve the minutes for December 9th as presented. Are there any questions by any of the board members? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the minutes from December 9th, 2024 as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Mary, please call for the vote.
Mr. Hayes.
Yes.
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 Mr. Lavender, turn it back over to you.
Yes, sir. Now we're to the part of the agenda for our student recognitions. And the first is our Rotary Students of the Month. I believe Mr. Jim Miller is here tonight from our Rotary Club to congratulate our students. Jim, if you want to come up here, and then each of the principals will come forward and recognize our students. On first is our Casa Grande Union High School Student of the Month, Dr. Lineberry. If you would please come up and introduce your student.
Good evening, President Wilkie, governing board members, Superintendent Lavender, and public. I have the honor tonight of getting to introduce Asante Santilli as our Student of the Month. Asante, you want to come up? Yeah. So well, now I'm going to brag about you for a minute. So Asante's parents are both educators. Tamara, his mom, teaches at our school, and his dad is a professor at Maricopa Community College. Both parents have been huge role models in his life, and always taught him that he should do the best that he can at all times. He's been involved in junior varsity and varsity soccer, varsity track, Link Crew, Key Club, National Honor Society. And I can tell you from being out on the football field, when he went out on the field as our kicker, I felt extremely confident. He did not miss often. So he was the kicker on our football team. He's taken all honors classes his entire time at Union, as well as AP and CAC dual enrollment classes. This young man has a 4.6 GPA, good scores on his SAT and ACT. He's in a lot of different clubs. He's not sure on what college he's going to attend. You want to give him a hint?
I'm not sure yet.
No ideas. I tried Superintendent Lavender for ASU. He's not sure what he wants to do with his future. However, he is looking to get into business, particularly real estate, and potentially getting a master's degree in business law. So, Ms. Santilli, if you want to come up, congratulations, Asante, the January Student of the Month.
Congratulations being a Rotary Justice Club's Student of the Month. Thank you. Appreciate it. You've done a good job.
Shake hands. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Moms have to work.
On my person. One, two, three.
Next is Mr. Danzy, who will recognize our Vista Grande Student of the Month.
You didn't see that. Greetings, President Wilkie, board members, Superintendent Lavender. It's my pleasure to present the Vista Grande Rotary Student of the Month, and that is Mr. Ramon Gonzalez. Vista Grande High School is proud to recognize Ramon Gonzalez, son of Emily and Ramon Gonzalez, as the January Rotary Student of the Month. Ramon is an active leader in school, serving as a Stuco senator and a founding member of the first Vista Trap and Ski team. As a designer of the class of 2025 and Thespian Club floats and president of Thespian Club, He has contributed greatly to the school's creative community. Additionally, Ramon serves as a VG football statistician, where his attention to detail supports the team's success and his amazing amount of energy when things are going positive. And he's also very, very positive even when things aren't going well. So he's a great support to the team. Outside of school, Ramon is an Eagle Scout, a lifeguard, and soon to be confirmed as a Catholic. Reflecting his dedication to leadership and service, he also enjoys hunting. Looking ahead, Ramon plans to attend college and pursue a career in biomimicry. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Perfect. Or automotive engineering. His goal is to revolutionize the automotive industry through innovative and bold designs. With his leadership, passion, and ambition, Ramon is a true role model and a deserving recipient of this recognition. Mr. Ramon Gonzalez.
Oh, gosh, you guys plan this. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Next is our PACE Student of the Month, and Mrs. Danby.
Good evening. Good evening. This chilly evening. Isaac, come on up. PACE's Student of the Month is Isaac Iowane. I have a couple of words from some of our advisors and myself. Isaac is an exceptional student, and we had lots of wonderful things to say about him. Isaac has demonstrated astonishing academic growth while balancing the demands of being a scholar athlete, all fueled by his relentless drive to maintain straight A's. His commitment goes beyond academics. He has excelled in boys tennis and demonstrated compassion as a leader in community service projects through the Chick-fil-A Leader Academy and various student leadership opportunities. Isaac represents the spirit of teamwork, consistently motivating his peers and offering support whenever needed. His infectious enthusiasm and positive outlook make him a role model for all students at our school. Isaac is a true example of a student who exudes PACE's characteristics of a portrait of a graduate. He displays integrity and seeks to trust and be trustworthy. His actions show his true connection and commitment to developing his own positive personal character. Isaac is self-directed and takes accountability for his actions and their outcomes. He acts intentionally to achieve his personal best, no matter if it is in academics, athletics, or his relationships with peers and our staff. He regularly demonstrates his ability to be responsible, successfully communicate, and show empathy for others, and positively contribute to our school culture. He definitely is destined for success, and I have been one on the receiving end of that empathy and that communication. When my mom passed away in October, he sent me the most beautiful email, and it was such an inspiration for me. I appreciate that, Isaac. Congratulations. Oh, you want to come up and take pictures with you? Your family can come up and smile. family picture.
One, two, come on. Okay. Sorry. Okay, ready? All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Thank
Next will be Mrs. Miller for our CTE Student of the Month.
President Wilkie, board members, and our public, thanks for letting me do this yet again, my favorite part of the week. So tonight we're going to honor a student from Union High School who's in our software and app design program. That student is Alexandra Atkinson, and she's here tonight with her parents, Monty and Melissa. So I'd like to bring you up. And I'm going to share the words of her instructor, John Morris. Alexandra is an exceptional student in our CTE software and app design program. As an honors student, she has consistently earned straight A's in all her courses and exceeds expectations in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript programming assignments. Her dedication to learning is evident in the high quality of her work. Beyond the classroom, Alexandra is actively involved in the NASA Consortium for Space Mobility and the ISAM Capabilities Capstone Challenge. This prestigious university-level competition requires a deep understanding of complex engineering and programming concepts. Alex is taking on the ambitious challenge of designing a payload for an actual satellite mission, demonstrating her intellectual curiosity and drive. Alexandra's ability to excel in both academic and extracurricular activities is truly inspiring. She's a role model for her peers and a valuable asset to our CTE program. I wholeheartedly recommend her for the honor of CTE Student of the Month. And I would like to add that I noticed she's in her freshman year. So I am looking forward to many more years of seeing what you're able to accomplish through this program and all of your other academics. So congratulations to you.
No, I was John.
Mom and Dad are here. We're going to get everybody in a picture.
Mr. Morris.
One, two, three.
Next is our Employee of the Month, who is our math teacher at Vista Grande High School, Mrs. Crystal Villegas. I'm going to ask Mr. Danzy to join me up here as well.
President Wilkie, Governing Board, Superintendent Lavner. It is excellent that Ms. Villegas is our Employee of the Month. This year we started reimagining how PLCs were done and how we will go about doing PLCs. I've known Ms. Villegas, I want to say since I returned to Vista. And from that time on, she's always been a really quiet individual, always kind of quiet. And I would always wonder if how she was feeling about things and things of that nature. And over the course of the last 2 years, she's become a little more vocal about things. And when this position came up, she was one of the people that, one, I thought would do really well because she is somebody that the staff looks to. It's sometimes when those people who are quiet, they have a quiet confidence about them. They don't go out, they don't have to shout from the top of the mountains for people to get to listen to them. She's taken on the role of building lead at Vista Grande High School. I will honestly say she is a person that I sit behind closed doors and in meetings, and I sang her praises. And I often try to say that I need to shout out loud more about employees who step to the plate and do things that others don't. I often say she's a model employee for the taco forums that we are now having. She's taken that on. She's embraced it. When there's teachers that are struggling, I say, hey, you need to go sit in algebra too, because Miss Villegas does a phenomenal job as leading her PLC team and filling out this taco form. So it is great to see her growth. It's great to see where she's going. And one of those things that people say is sometimes when you do good, you actually have to, people give you more to do. Hey, Ms. Villegas. So with that being said, our employee of the month from Vista is Crystal Villegas.
There's a few things I wanted to say. I've been very impressed with Crystal this year and the leadership that she has taken on with our PLCs. When we talk about change, there are the trailblazers, and those are the ones that blaze the trails for others to follow. And she's done a phenomenal job being a trailblazer for us, asking questions, advocating to do things. I also sat down with a couple of her students today, Adelie Rangel and Alberto Hernandez Morgan. And these are some of the things that they told me. Number one is she gives them times to think about things. I think they're in your calculus class. Am I correct? Pre what?
Pre-calculus.
Pre-calculus class, which is a difficult class that I couldn't pass. But she gives them that time to really think, reflect on things. She asks a lot of questions to help them understand. She just doesn't tell them things. She asks questions for their mind to work through things so they can develop the things. She's involved in the students' learning. Or she involves the students in the learning. Students are not just sitting there passively in class. They're engaged in the learning. Her teaching makes sense to the teachers, which making sense out of calculus can be a difficult task. She creates a safe place for students to discuss content in the classroom. She does a lot of collaborating with her students, dialogue, and helping that. They said she's never sitting in her seat. She's always out of her seat, walking around the classroom, helping her students. She's asked the students, what can I do better as a teacher to support you? Because she obviously is in for self-improvement, and she wants to hear from her students and how she can improve. She asked students what she can, oh, I already said that one. And she asked students how their day is going because she understands that no significant learning takes place without a significant relationship between the teacher and the student. And they also told me, not only did she ask about how their day is going, she has never been rude to them. And they wanted me to tell you congratulations and very well deserved. So congratulations, Crystal. And here is, if you want to go through the line. Congratulations. Thank you.
Well, we want to congratulate everyone again, and thank you so much for all the hard work and dedication, and for just being your teachers for support and your students for outstanding achievement. This time, before we move on to superintendent's report, we'll pause and let you all go about your business. Welcome you to stay for the rest of the meeting, but we know that there's other places you might need to be. Thank you. She's so full of energy.
Absolutely. Bye, Matt. Bye. Bye, Matt Junior, Corey Junior. I sent you. Good to see you. Thank you. This guy's dad's height. Yeah. And his dad's perfect.
Mr. Lavender will now turn it back over to you for your report.
Thank you, President, members of the board. It's been a busy month as we have transitioned into the year 2025. A couple meetings ago, we had Alex Sanaya here at a meeting. He has been invited to play at Carnegie Hall. Coming early part of February this last weekend was the All-State Band, and Alex was the best jazz alto player in the state of Arizona. So congratulations to him. We also had Dominic Loya, who got to the second round of the trombone competition. Each year, the Casa Grande Alliance puts out a calendar promoting a healthy living. And this year, 9 Vista Grande art students had their art featured in this year's calendar. And those students were Melanie Stevens, Destiny Andreas, Emmeline Ochoa, Heber Melendez, John Johnson, Karen Gutierrez, Rhonda Reyna Colamanchi, Sophia Mendez, and Amber Nance. So we appreciate Mrs. Bottomley for promoting this healthy project for these students and the outstanding work that they submitted. Also this last weekend, our Union Deca Club went down to Sierra Vista, participated in a competition, and we had several students recognized down there. Top 10 for the marketing and comprehension exam scores was Amaya Fisher, Lillian Menifee, Karina Jacobson, and Joseph Cartone. And then overall finalists for role play and comprehensive exam, Joseph Cartone got first place for personal financial literacy. Amaya Fisher and Kendra Wilson got second place for business law, ethics, and team decision making. Karina Jacobson got third place for quick serve restaurant management, and Micah Brenton got third place for restaurant and food service management. So congratulations to our DECA students as well. And then at Vista Grande High School, Alexia Yanez was the AZ Central Student of the Month for the week of December 9th to the 13th. She is a senior at Vista, and I think she graduated mid-year, so congratulations to her. And then also, Casa Grande Union boys team won their holiday basketball tournament championship. This Thursday from 5 to 7 o'clock, we will be doing open house and orientation for our 8th grade students who are coming to us next year. And this will be at all 3 of our campuses, Pace, Vista Grande, and Union. And then on Friday, we'll be an early release, and all students will be dismissed this Friday at 1:05. I think Pace students are dismissed at 12:10 on Friday. Also next Tuesday, we will start the Truckle Road widening project. It's going to take about 9 months. I know other things take 9 months. It can be painful with, we'll go into morning sickness and things like that, but it's going to be a challenge, winding Truckle Road 4 lanes in front of a busy school of 2,000 students. When it's done, it's going to be great, because we'll have 2 lanes going each way. We'll have a medium in the center out there for safety, but we ask everybody to be careful as we are doing this project over the next 9 months. As I said earlier tonight, our next board meeting will be Tuesday, February 11th. And also, we will be communicating, Mary and I will be communicating with all of you to set up a retreat date for us, either near the end of January or the mid to end of February. And so that's my report for tonight.
And Mr. Lavender, do we have interviews tomorrow? Is that correct?
Yeah, Casa Grande Union is doing career interviews tomorrow. They're going all day. There's a morning session as well as an afternoon session. And I know Vista Grande is in the process right now of asking for volunteers and anybody from the public that would like to get involved in interviewing students. It's a really rewarding experience, and I'm looking forward to being there tomorrow afternoon and interviewing some of our fine students as well.
So, all right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Lavender. And now we'll move over to matters reserved for the board action, starting off with the MOU Pinal Hispanic Council Student Services. Mr. Lavender.
Yes, so this is a memorandum of understanding between us and Pinal County, or Pinal Hispanic Council. to provide extensive services for our students who need them on campus. As we know, there are many students that have very challenging emotional and health needs. A lot of times our guidance counselors maybe don't have the background or the depth of knowledge because they've been trained more to be guidance counselors. And so this allows us to work with Pinal County. What happens is the referral is made, the Pinal County, Pinal Hispanic Council contacts the family, they set up the meeting, they contact and do all the paperwork that's required. What we do is provide a safe place for the counselor and the student to meet on campus and work through that. And so we ask that you would support this memorandum of understanding as another way of supporting our students and the needs that they have.
Is there any questions from the board? I just thank you. These services are so important for our students as they deal with things that back in the day, we didn't have to, not nearly as much. So any of these resources are, we have to support, and I appreciate you bringing this before us. So with that, I'll entertain a motion.
Approve?
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Mary, will you please call for the vote?
Mr. Hayes?
Yes?
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkie?
Yes.
Mr. Harrington?
Yes.
Mrs. Jordan?
Yes.
All right.
Mr. Wilkie, there is one thing I looked over when I was given the report. This Thursday will be the annual Unity March. We have about 1,000 to 1,200 middle school students that are marching from Lencola over to Pier Park. And then on Monday at noon will be the Dr. Martin Luther King Day of Service. And there are several service projects that have been designated for our students to participate. We're anticipating about 300 to 400 of our high school students will be participating on Monday. So the event starts at 12 o'clock at Pier Park. There will be some short speeches and that. There'll be hot dogs served at 12:30, and then the students will go out at 1 o'clock and perform those. This has all been under the direction of Mr. Scott McEwen, our former superintendent. We thank Scott for all the work that he's doing on that. Again, it was on my notes, sir, but I overlooked it. So my apologies. So.
Well, thank you. And thank you, Scott, for all you do for the community and for all the team members that are helping with these events. We've just passed that, so we're moving on to donations.
So we received 3 generous donations this month. The Vista Grande Junior ROTC received $100 from an anonymous donor. The Casa Grande Union Renaissance Clubs received $2,500 from Pinal 40. And Pace received a barbecue grill valued at $150 from an anonymous donor. And we recommend that you accept these donations.
Wonderful. Any questions from the board? If
No.
not, I'll entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to approve the donations as presented.
Do I have a second?
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Mary, please call for the vote.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes?
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkie?
Yes.
Mrs. Harrington?
Yes.
Mrs. Jordan?
Yes.
Passes. That moves us to the consent agenda portion of our agenda. And all these items listed under the consent agenda can be taken in one motion unless a board member would like to remove any of them for further discussion. Does anybody have an inkling to do that? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Mary, please call for the vote.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes?
Mr. Hunt?
No.
Mr. Wilkie?
Yes.
Mrs. Harrington?
Yes.
Mrs. Jordan?
Yes.
All right, that moves us to the public comment portion of the agenda. Is there anybody here? I didn't receive any cards, but did anybody here like to provide any public comment? Seeing none, I will accept a motion for to adjourn for the night. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Question. Do we have
I don't know.